Renee Goldsberry has had some run-ins with the law.
And I was in the back of the police car like, oh my God, it's over, my life is over.
And sometimes she wishes she were from another planet.
One of the coolest things that ever happened to me was that I had the opportunity to play Ensign Kelly on one of those wonderful Star Trek shows.
But as foxy attorney Evangeline Williamson on One Life to Live, this brainy babe is one sexy barrister.
I used to say that I would be a lawyer if I wasn't in the arts.
In life, this singer, dancer, actress has conquered television, Broadway, and the movies. And she's going to share how she lived through a life-shattering personal tragedy.
I knew that my water had broke, which was devastating.
All that and more, next on Soapography. In 2003, glam lawyer Evangeline Williamson arrived in Landview to defend a One Life to Live pariah.
There was an uber bad guy on the show named Mitch Lawrence who was like, you know, Satan in the town. My character was supposed to be kind of the mean representative of Mitch Lawrence.
But off camera, Renee is as happy as a schoolgirl.
When I'm walking around the set of One Life to Live, it's like a big S for me.
Renee Goldsberry was born in California, but she's hardly a California girl.
I always say I'm from Houston or I say I'm from Detroit, depending on what mood I'm in. My mom lived in Houston and I kind of was raised there, and then I went to high school in Michigan and my father still lives there, and I feel like I've lived all over the place. You would think I was a military brat, but I wasn't.
When Renee was still in school, her parents separated.
At some point they divorced, and it's even hard to pin a date down for the divorce because they were separated for several years, and that was a pretty difficult time, I think, for our entire family.
Still, Renee was a good student who stayed out of trouble. Well, most of the time anyway.
I think I was like 14. I obviously didn't have a driver's license, but I snuck my mom's car, and when I was backing onto the driveway, I bowled over the fence and had to call her home from work to tell her about it.
Another time, Renee tried to sneak out of the house late at night.
I had gone with my next-door neighbor, and we had some trouble getting over a fence, and the police drove by, and they were like, obviously, you girls have no business out here at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I just remember when we pulled up to my mom's house with the lights flashing and rang the doorbell to wake her up to tell her, they were like, I think we have your daughter in the car. And she was like, no, my daughter's sleeping. And I was in the back of the police car like, oh, my God, it's over, my life is over. But it wasn't.
When Renee was a teenager, she was bitten by the acting bug.
I was always very much like, I want to be a star. I was very confident about the fact that I really wanted to be a singer and an actress and a dancer.
It was Renee's dream to go to a top college for actors.
I really was thinking USC, UCLA, NYU, Juilliard, Tisch.
After being accepted to all of her dream schools, Renee surprised even herself when she chose Carnegie Mellon.
I made that decision to go to that school, and it was, I think, one of the best decisions I ever made.
After she graduated, Renee was ready to tackle the Big Apple.
I got out of school, and I was living in New York City working as a music theater actress, and I thought, doing pretty well. It was cast in a musical that was going to Broadway called Paper Moon, and I did a tour of Dreamgirls.
Renee kept working and added the Broadway musical The Color Purple to her resume, but she wasn't content to sit on her laurels.
I just felt that in a couple of years, I will have done a couple more shows, but I just felt like I wasn't ready to finish learning, so I started seriously considering going back to school.
She ditched her success on stage and headed west to try her luck as a singer. I
ended up going into a master's program at University of Southern California for jazz vocals.
So which Star Trek series did Renee Goldsberry appear on? If you guessed C, you were right. Renee played Ensign Kelly on Star Trek Enterprise in the episode entitled Vox Sola. After she finished grad school, Renee went to work in a recurring role as a backup singer for Vonda Shepard's band on Ally McBeal.
I got to sing for everybody on that show, and it was just a really wonderful experience, from Rod Stewart to Al Green, Gladys Knight.
But Renee especially remembers working with one of her all-time favorite stars.
And one of the first big celebrities we had was Barry White. And that was a dream because we did that song, We Got It Together, Baby. You know that song? You're my first, my last, my everything.
Working with a music legend was thrilling for Renee, but she learned firsthand about one of Barry White's biggest fears.
Our largest rock stars and R&B stars, they came up before videos. So they're not necessarily comfortable on camera. He would keep turning around to like us standing behind him with the microphone. And believe me, I was as close to him as possible to try to get in his shot, you know. And he would turn around and kind of like take my hand and be like, what's going on? You know, just kind of intimidated by this huge set and all these people and how many millions of times on television you have to do the same thing. And I think he was scared to death.
Her on-camera singing on Ally McBeal kick-started Renee's acting career, and it wasn't long before she landed another dream gig.
I'm a huge Trekkie. I absolutely love Star Trek.
Renee auditioned for Star Trek Enterprise and landed the part of Ensign Kelly on the show.
I was in a blob on the show. I don't think you could really see my face because I had like the equivalent of hair gel all over. Like I got killed by some monster, but I loved it.
Renee had had good luck in Hollywood, but she missed New York and returned to the Bill in 2001. It was then that her personal life took a fortunate turn.
I met my husband in church. I was leaving a very early morning service on a Sunday, obviously. When my husband and I started dating, about 5 minutes afterwards, I thought, oh my God, this is it. That's my husband.
And it wasn't just her personal life that was full of new opportunities.
I got engaged, and then right afterwards I was asked to star in The Lion King on Broadway.
Renee and Alexis Johnson were married in December of 2002.
I full-on went for the big wedding dress and the tiara and the veil, and I had a ball. I didn't know that I was such a girly girl, but I had the best time of my life.
In 2003, Renee got another big career boost.
I was doing The Lion King, and about 6 months in, my agent in New York City called me to say there was an audition for One Life to Live.
Renee went to the audition, but she didn't think it went well.
First of all, Evangeline was the name of the character. I was like, well, they got to change that. And the second thing I thought was, it's too bad. I should have done better. I didn't think I'd done a very good job.
But One Life to Live producers liked Renee and cast her on the show.
They ended up making the role recurring, and the rest, I guess, is history.
With roles on Broadway and a hit soap, Renee had plenty to keep her occupied. But the daytime dynamo had one more thing she wanted to do.
I very much would love to have a family. I was working on One Life to Live and found out that I was pregnant. And I was just on cloud nine, just the happiest person in the world.
Renee had it all, a career, a wonderful husband, and now she was poised to be a mother. But then the unthinkable happened.
5 months in, which is very rare, I just realized, I knew that my water had broke, which was devastating. We went to the hospital, and I went ahead and had to, basically deliver the baby.
The baby was severely premature and did not survive. The loss was devastating for Renee and her husband, but with prayer and support from their friends and family, they pulled through.
I feel like kind of on the other side of a storm kind of thing, where you're stronger from it. Especially because physically I'm very strong, and I'm getting to that point where I could actually consider trying again.
This strong woman has done more in a few decades than most people have done in a lifetime. She's a singer, dancer, actor.
To perform in that show with that cast, sing that music, and tell that story felt like the closest thing to praising God I've ever done on stage.
Item 3.
She's a television star.
I love my cast, and I love the crew, and I just have a ball when I'm running around there.
We're on camera 3. This is 326. Quiet, please.
And she's even been nominated for an Emmy.
When someone says that you're nominated for an Emmy, it kind of strikes that chord in you, and you start thinking, oh my God, it's not something I even dreamed of happening.
But when all is said and done, it's the simple things that Renee treasures most.
My absolute favorite thing to do is to sit on my couch, preferably with my husband and my dog, and a bowl of cereal, and watch television. That's the very best thing in the world for me.